What's going on? Okay, light. We got the natural light hitting. We got the natural light. We got the fresh face. But hey guys, what's going on? I hope that you guys have been having a blessed day, a blessed week of abundance, love, joy, and happiness. Okay, and we've been talking about a lot. We've been talking about what trauma is to us. We've been talking about different examples of, who have been silent throughout their traumatic experiences in the Bible. At least briefly, we've spoken on numerous of things. We've spoken on the history of silence. We've spoken on, are you okay with not truly fully being healed? And I'm loving how I personally am loving how I'm using my voice to speak up on those things because they truly matter to me. What also truly matters to me is the healing process and the journey. And I really do hope that, we continue to grow and to move in grace. And with that, with grace, it's given I've forgiven myself and I am okay with where I'm at. I'm okay with the pace that I am going. There is no need in rushing. This is not a race. Granted, this may be an obstacle that I want to get through. This may be a certain trial, where you feel like you're constantly being tested. You're constantly being questioned about your faith, about your love, about your heart, about your character, about your mind, how it changes and what you're thinking, where you're, all of that. And, this journey is really about grace. And it's really finding the journey as well with finding your voice through trauma, pain, finding your voice through suffering, finding your voice through healing, finding your voice in peace and in love and what that looks like. And I'm happy that I'm able to be an example. I'm able to be a voice, able to be a vessel to where I can share what I've been through, what I've gone through, and, also share about how I've gotten to the place where I'm in now to actually being comfortable with talking about some of the things that I've gone through and knowing okay, that's one thing that I'm healed from, or okay, yeah, I'm healed from that, but I'm still working on that. You know what I mean? And being acceptive of just the process, you know? And so today we're going to be getting into how different areas of what we thought we were healed from are still not. We're still triggered, baby. Okay, girl, you talk too much, or girl, you okay, you done spoken a word, but I'm not ready to touch on that yet. Okay, I'm not able to meet you halfway, but I hear you. Or talking to your man, you know what I mean? And you just all right, you triggering me. And going back to the last episode, when we do come out and be like, hey, babe, you're triggering me, it's one of those things where, you got to sit back and be like, is he really triggering me? Or is she really triggering me? Or is this something that I'm not truly healed from? So what we're going to be getting into today is about how our relationships have affected the healing process, whether that's we're feeling like we're constantly being stagnant in it, or feeling like in our present relationship and the people that we're dealing with brought up some things that we have to actually truly heal from. And so we're not completely healed from it, and we thought we were. And that's what we're going to be getting into. So let's get into it. Let's talk about how not being healed or even doing the work, right, to get in there affects our relationships. Platonic, romantic, work, relationship, whatever. Any type of connection that you have built with the person to establish a certain connection is forming a relationship in any type of way. And in the beginning stages of meeting someone, we become vulnerable. In a way, we do become vulnerable because we are sharing experiences or sharing certain things from our past that we have gone through, whether it's good, bad. And we're talking about it so that we can let the person know, like, this is what I've experienced or whatever, but I've learned from it, trying to, like, and we're slightly, it's like a watercolor painting. We're dipping it in water, we're dipping our color in water, and we're just simply brushing it away. And we're talking very lightly, and although we're being open, we're talking lightly about what our experience were, and not being, I feel like sometimes we're not being completely honest about what it is that truly have hurt us or truly put us in a place to be where we are today, or how it affected us to be who we are, like, in this very moment, and how that process was, how that journey was, and how we had to pretty much remold ourselves, change our mindsets, our perspectives, change our thoughts about what we thought love, relationships, or anything was, you know what I mean? And sometimes we hit the surface and we don't go deep. And we lose that, and we lose that vulnerability. And sometimes in the beginning stages, there are moments where you are vulnerable and you are sharing, for instance, the person that you want to be with, or that you really like real heavy, or whatever, that you're planning to be in a relationship with, and romantically. And, you do share those things that are heart-wrenching and heartbreaking. And at this point, it's sharing it to let you know, like, this is something that is really dear to me, and I wish that things could have been different, but it's not. Or I'm having a hard time navigating it, but I'm in a better place than I was before. So different things of that nature, right? And let's say those were the beginning stages. Those were the beginning stages of having those type of conversations when you get to meet someone. Years down the line, maybe even months, because there are some people out there that have gotten, married within 6 months, 12 months, or whatever, and they just met a few months prior, whatever the case may be. And few months later, you start to see certain things. You start to see certain patterns, and you're becoming very aware and observant of what it is that the person, of how they're talking to you, how they're treating you, how they are moving and operating around you. And in the beginning, it wasn't like that. And we don't go back to the conversations that we had when we first met the person. Or we missed seeing what it is that the person was giving us and portraying us and presenting to us in the beginning, to where we bypassed it because, we didn't ask the proper questions that we needed to understand that person, and vice versa. We didn't ask so for us, let's say the first person, speaking in first person, sorry, we have not asked the questions as to, or made note, like, hey, I saw this happen, or I heard you speak to me or treat me in this particular way, and it made me feel uncomfortable. Is this what you meant? Was this intentional? Sometimes it doesn't have to be that deep, but it truly can open up the conversation as to like where did this particular movement or action stem from, so that we won't be in a situation where we feel like the person that we want to be with or that we are still learning and growing with is constantly hurting us or triggering us or whatever. So it's a two-way street. On one end, you're kind of asking the proper questions. And when I say proper, I mean necessary. You're asking the necessary questions to know who this person is and where they came from and their background. Paying attention to how they treat their family or how their family treats them, because that matters too. And we can get into that too. And seeing how, like, this particular situation or whatever, I'm really not cool with, or let's get deep into that. Why is the conversation surrounding that, the way that it is, or why is it so hard to have? Why don't you want to go deep into this conversation? Why are you only touching the surface? Why aren't you connecting with your feelings? Why are you shutting yourself down? Why are you constantly yelling? Why are you always on 1,000? Why can't we just be here? Why can't we just be mellow? And sometimes in conversations, it can be that simple, or it can be as complex as to, I was very aware of these certain patterns that you have been doing when it has came to you and how you're treating yourself, and now you are projecting it onto me. What happened? What is the root? Because I know, and we have not done anything to one another to put us in this particular place. But I have noticed that you have put yourself in this place to where you felt like you cannot reconnect with me. So, babe, what's happening? Like, what shifted? What didn't shift? What didn't move? Like, how are we going to get to the place to where we can get back to and sometimes we don't even have to get back to what we was in the beginning, because we do change over time. And that is okay, because who we once were 10, 5, 6, whatever, it can be months or even years, probably even days or weeks, child. I mean, if we do change that often, but nonetheless, it can take some years or whatever. But that from the time that you met me or whatever, when I was 25 and me being at 30, that was 5 years. That is a long time. I have changed. My mind has changed, and I changed my mind, and we have to be open and accepting that. And we just have to be okay. Like, we have to be open and okay with that. And I dislike, maybe on the verge of hate, but some of these things that we're getting into do stem from generational curses. I'll say that, cycles, you know what I mean? And it seems to be certain traditions, certain cultures, and how it needs to be this particular way. And we can't break from that. And if we break from that, we are the black sheep. We are the odd man out. We are the outcast, or we are the rebel. And sometimes it's really not even being rebellious. It's just simply the fact that my heart is pulling me to go a different direction, to go a different way, to for safety, for vulnerability, to be myself, to be okay with who I am, into loving myself, feeling like, you know what I mean? Feeling like you haven't been loved or treated gently or appreciated in this particular light from outside of this box, outside of yourself. And so when you connect with certain people, it's hard to connect with people because you haven't gotten that or whatever growing up, or you haven't gotten that for so long. You don't know what that feels like when you are accepted from somebody else, or when someone does like you or appreciates you. And when we start to see, like, when we're dealing with other people and we're in relationships with them, we don't realize sometimes the things that we have gone through are actually, we kind of been wounded in a way to where we haven't been healed from that. We haven't been healed from it because we never talked about it with our parents, with our siblings. We never talked about it or whatever with our grandparents or our ancestors, whether they're alive or rest in peace, passed away. You know what I mean? And again, that is a part of the history and silence. That is a part of, silence is okay when you're not sharing your family's business. It's okay to not share your family business in silence, but that is where all of the pain, lies, suffering lays in. Child, it lays and come into cahoots with all of that. Silence, silence. Silence dictates shame, guilt, regret, exposure, harm, danger. It exposes all of that. And your family is scared that I'm going to say our family is scared that if anything comes out about our family, because of what our family has experienced, whether traumatic abuse in the most threatening, harmful way. So that can be sexually, physically, and even emotionally and mentally. Like all of that. Abuse, lies, stealing, killing, destroying the family. That if it comes out and we're exposing the family, we be putting shame on the people that is putting it into the light. But why are we hiding that? And so that particular silence, I feel like that particular silence, that's just a gist, but, well, really not so gif, of how silence becomes so easy to do when you don't want to do the work. You just want to heal. You just want to go on about your life. You want to go on about your life, but you still are affecting the people that's connected to you. You want to go on about your life, but you are still talking negatively about yourself. You're slick speaking negative about your relationship, and you wondering why you still going through these arguments and these cycles. You still trying to figure out why everybody is unbalanced. Because one person is trying to get it right and the other person's still in their feelings about whatever, and they're not speaking up about it. And it all goes together. And so we're in this, and this is where speaking up about it is putting it all together and making it flow, and coming to the river to listen, to lay it down, okay? To get some refreshing water, to splash it on our face, to feel the sunlight, to get revived, to feel anew, to feel refreshed, to feel restored, all of that. And if you are really wanting a breakthrough out of your relationship romantically with your partner, and platonically with your best friend, or platonically with your parents, your sister, your brother, whomever, you have to be willing to do the work to speak out about it. Like, listen, I know that you're uncomfortable about this particular situation, but this needs to be talked about so that we can be healed. And if you're not ready to be healed, okay, but I am. And sometimes that can be a particular closure to where you accept the fact that, okay, I'm willing to do the work, but the other person has to meet me halfway. And if they are not willing to meet you halfway, that's one thing. If they willing to do the work and they don't have the tools to navigate it, all right, boom, let's figure out how we can do this together. I'm with that. But if you just like, I am who I am and I don't want to change, you can stay there. I'm not. I'm not. Because I've done my work. I've forgiven myself, and I'm no longer going to let you or anybody else affect me in a way to where I feel small, to where I feel low, to where I'm in this negative place, because it's unfair. And if you really want to grow with your person, if you really want to grow and evolve with your family, you have to be willing to do the work and to get there and to speak up about some things that has hurt everybody, that has hurt both people. Because this particular hurt has affected people that is not even truly connected to it, that don't, it's affected people that isn't directly affected to it, but it's indirect because is another parent, or they live in the same household as you, or they know something is going on and they feel the energy shifting, but they don't know where it's stemming from. And that affects everybody. And this is what this is about, to get into that place so that we can get there. And understanding that sometimes, and there's going to be different stages of this. It's going to be different stages to where in the beginning, yes, you probably did put some things on the table. 5, I'm not going to, I can give it 10, but years down the line, you're going to have to start putting more stuff on the table to talk about. You're going to have to start being a lot more open. You're going to have to start getting a lot more vulnerable and deeper. You're going to have to start, it's becoming a tattoo. You're going to have to get deep. A tattoo may last, but it doesn't last unless it's deep within. It goes through at least 5 layers of the skin. It just doesn't go right on top. It ain't no marker. I don't know why I sounded like that, but it's not a marker. It's a tattoo. It's going through 5 layers. And that's what those wounds is like. You're going to have to get real deep. Sometimes you're going to have to reopen that wound so that it can truly heal. And then you can slap some cocoa butter on that thing so that it can, it used to be there, but now your skin's smooth, so that you can get to that place to where you can feel like, okay. I'm smooth. I'm smooth enough to walk down the street and be like, yo, what's good? I'm okay with walking down the street and seeing the person, seeing your ex or whatever. And you can be cordial. Hey, how you doing today? Or you can just be like, what's up? And just keep it trucking. Like, you don't got to have no conversation with the person. But that is the level of maturity. That's the level of healing. That is the level of acceptance. All of that. There's more. Wait, but there's more. All right, y'all. I done had a few breaks. I done went back to work. I done, so y'all done waited long enough. So we back. And we're back with a few answers and a few different transitions into, other topics surrounding the same thing that goes with, not being healed and how it affects relationships and everything like that. And so we touched on how it can affect in different surfaces and how pretty much what kind of work we need to do surrounding that so that it doesn't affect, our relationships or people that we're meeting, trying to connect with, so that in the future, when we do or whatever, we can learn from those mistakes and we can try to prevent, any type of like projection or any type of like true like harm onto the other person. And a few things that I believe that can help, that can also prevent the effect not becoming like a tumor or like a type of cancer to where it spreads and it becomes something that you feel like, it's been way too long, and how do I go back to that to resurface so that I can make sure, like, to make sure of anything, or how do I, bring up that type of memory or whatever so that I can make sure that I touch on it or whatever. And so with these type of questions, um it's kind of asking how to navigate going back into the past to bring up those certain traumas so that it can be talked about, so that it can be resolved, and so that you can essentially be healed in a way to where you can talk about it, to where both parties, whoever is involved, whether it's a third party or not, to where everybody can be on the same page and move accordingly with one another, and really knowing how to treat one another, knowing how to appreciate, love one person, how to make this particular space or whatever safe for someone else, so that they can, essentially be a vulnerable to you, and vice versa, to where you can pour into them, and you can pour into them and they can pour into you. So give and take, pretty much. And some of the things that I have found very intriguing was that I found a few things. So, developing witness conscious. So this says, begin to notice all the thoughts and feelings that arise from the position of an observer. In your relationships, start to be aware when this isn't that. Sometimes a spouse coming home late from work is just that. Notice when you are triggered and all the self-talk that comes along with that. So that was one thing that I noticed was kind of similar to what I mentioned before, to where, well, not earlier in this episode, but I want to say in the last one, where I was like, are you really triggered? Did the person really trigger you? Or is this a situation where you remember how another person treated you and it made you feel a type of way and you didn't speak on it then? And so you let it bypass. And then you, like, in your head, you like, this person is really rude. Like, how you come into somebody's house, or how do you come into a space and you see people and you not say hi or whatever like that? And that can be for anybody. And that's just an example. You know what I mean? And you're feeling triggered or whatever because a person's attitude or their demeanor, their posture may come off as if they're irritable, and they don't say nothing. They just walk in and be like, what's up? They don't give you a kiss. They don't give you a hug. They're not affectionate or whatever. And then it prolongs. You go ahead, you cooking, or you go run errands and stuff like that. And then you come back home and it's the same energy. And so now at this point, now you're in your head because you're trying to figure out what's really going on. So with that, instead of jumping to a conclusion that they are necessarily triggering you, you have to be mindful. Okay, what's going on with him? What's going on with her? What happened today? Let's talk about it. I notice your energy is different. You normally don't come home like this. Let's talk about it. And if a person is ready, I'm sure that they will explain. And then if not, I'm sure it's only just that they had a long day of work. They kind of stressed out or whatever, and it can be that. And so for for that type of description, that was on key. That was on key. And that's what I found interesting. Not interesting, but that's when I was like, okay, light bulb went off. Another one that I saw was sharing your triggers, in which we've been talking about this. So pretty much resolving the unresolved. Like, this is what healing is truly really all about. sharing your triggers and sharing your experiences. Like I'm gonna start with me because I can't speak for everybody. And I know it's going to take longer for other people to be able to get to a place to where they can be able to share anything. And whether that's with a loved one, like a close family member, very dear to them, or to, a friend or whomever, you know what I mean? And it becomes hard because you are essentially like you are afraid. You are afraid that you're going to be judged for what it is that you've gone through, how you've handled the situation, if you didn't handle the situation a certain way, or feeling like, well, you know, it's deeper than just me experiencing this. This has been going on for a very long time, and I'm just now having the courage to speak out about it because I'm not, I may not be okay with the experiences that I've gone through, but I am okay with myself to say that I am ready to be healed and I'm ready to move on from this and I'm ready to grow and evolve from this. I have hope that I can be someone new. I have hope that I can be healthier mentally and emotionally. I have hope that I can love myself the way that I used to before. I have hope that, having this hope is not that we're in a place of where we're hopeless. We are sleeping on our hope, dreaming of our hope, hoping that we one day will wake up and our life is totally changed and totally new and totally different than what we've ever experienced before. And that is why some of us work so hard, working, you know, double shifts and working back to back and working with no days off because we need a distraction or whatever to get away from what life is really about, or trying to get away from the past or whatever so that we don't have to deal with it. And that's another form of medication too, which essentially becomes even more traumatic because now you're using work, you're killing yourself, you're stressed out all the time, you're not giving yourself any time of the day, you're not being patient with yourself, you're not giving yourself grace, you're not going at a pace to where you can go to God because you're going to work. And then when you do go to God, you giving the bare minimum. You're really not giving your all and putting it all on the altar, or you're not truly giving it to him. You're not being in his face. You're not having that type of faith to know that you are going to get out of this particular struggle or storm that you're experiencing. And we ask these questions as to why. We take a deep breath. And then we start asking, why am I still with this man? Why am I still with this woman? Why are we still arguing? Why does it seem like it's one thing after the next? Bro, why is I swear to you, I just got my car fixed and now I got another situation going on. I just paid my bill and now I got another bill coming in. Like dang, like I can't, you feeling like you can't ever catch a break. You feeling like you can't ever just have a moment to breathe to yourself. And we're constantly, it's like this hamster wheel. We keep on moving, but we're not taking a break to get off. So we constantly running away or trying to fill up our plates and fill up our schedules to where we don't have to deal with everything else that's attached to us. And not being healed can also affect our relationships by, and sometimes we don't realize it, but I mentioned about how we can project onto other people. We get so caught up with all these different conclusions in our head about a person because we think we know them and we really don't. And granted, we have experienced this particular stage of our life, whether it's for like 2, 3 years and you notice their patterns, or 5 years and you know how they move, or 8 years and then you see how certain things have changed about them or whatever. But you realize that this particular person that they once were or whatever a few years ago is not who they, are today. And you're having a hard time trying to see who this person really is. And sometimes on one end, you miss that older person. And so to you right now, it looks as if like they fake, but this is really who they are. And this is just a totally different version of them. And they kind of shed that old person because they have learned so much more than what they did but then. And sometimes, more times than some, I'll say that our way of life changes that and molds that too, and changes our perspective as well. For instance, I have a son who's 4. He just turned 4. And I can say for a fact that I am not the same person that I was for 4 years ago. Not because I'm physically a mother now, but because of everything else. About my perspective, my mind changed. Like me changing my mind about a few things, about how I want to gentle parent and how I am in between Nuck If You Buck and gentle parenting. And you got one last time before somebody see me out in the street and you get jacked up. Anyways, like that is where I'm at. And then there are other days when I'll be like, come on now, Jakai, you're 4. I get it. You're a baby. You're okay. You're tolerant and you're a savage. But come down. A little bit. Let me try to retract back before I get lost. Because as soon as I start talking about my son, I'll go. But anyways, but as an example, being a mother, like being a woman or whatever, that would definitely change who you are. And your partner may not know who this version is. They may definitely accept you for who you are at this point because you're taking care of their child. And I will say this, I hope that your partner really sees and appreciates you in this moment, because they can see you in so many different stages, but they miss, right? And when I say miss, when I say they, sorry, I'm talking about the partners of the mothers. And I'm speaking for myself. I feel like our partners miss this stage of where we're at right now because they're not able to truly connect with us. And sometimes we're not on the same page. Sometimes we are, you know, outside of bed, outside of, the home or whatever. And I hope that, if you're in a relationship with your partner, your child's father, and child's mother, I hope that you guys are still pouring into each other as who y'all are, not because you're a father and not because you're a mother. And I hope that you guys are able to see each other for where y'all at in this particular moment. And be present in that. Be present in that moment. Take a deep breath and exhale in that moment, because some of these moments you are not going to get back. And the more that you're arguing about y'all differences, about how y'all want to raise, y'all kids, or, one parent is feeling like they're not being seen, the other one feeling like you're not letting them be who they are, and you're not letting them be a dad, you're not letting me be a mom, and it's just this constant fight. And it seems as if y'all have a very hard time working together. Communicate. Speak up and communicate. And communicate effectively and hear one another. I have had so many arguments since the time I was pregnant up until the 31st of December of 2022, to where I look back and I'm like, we both really didn't see one another. Me and my partner, we really both didn't see one another. But the reason why we didn't see each other was because we were so focused on the person that we are in this moment. And I get that, but we wasn't. But sometimes I ask, were we really showing each other? And did we miss something? And if we did miss something, what did we just miss? Because do you see me out here taking care of your child? Do you see me? And sometimes it can be the physical. And the other part, like, it can be the physical to where you actually physically and visually want to see the person actually doing the work. But because y'all don't live together, or because y'all have different work schedules or whatever, you're not truly able to see until y'all live together or whatever. And sometimes it be like that, to where it does hit you like, oh my gosh, like, this person is truly amazing at what it is that they're doing and how they're doing it. And it can be how they're talking to, it can be how they're talking to your baby. It can be how they're pouring into them. It can be how they're pouring out of them, and how the baby is pouring back into the parent. And it makes you see, like, and sometimes the outside world, and it can be anybody outside of your unit is still considered the outside world. So the out anybody outside of this unit, it becomes a distraction. And that's the same way with how everything else can affect relationships when it's not healed and when it's not talked about. And I put so much emphasis on healing, because not only is that one of the main things that we're getting to when, we talk about I am Dina, but it's really so that we can get out of this space of darkness, to where we can get out of this emptiness of, like, suffering and grief and pain and sorrow and just toxicity, just all of the things like that's just negative, right? That doesn't give us any, that doesn't do anything for us, that doesn't benefit us to be healthier and better. It puts us in a place to where the more we're silent, the more we're building up to explode. And we don't want that, because when we explode, it causes chaos and corruption. It causes destruction when we explode. It's like a volcano. It's like a grenade. Well, a grenade happens instantly. As soon as it touches something, it blows up. And yeah. And I don't want to be in a situation where I explode. I want to be in a place where I'm like a river and I just flow. You can come to me, you can swim in me. Pause. Pun intended, or not. To where I'm a river and you can just come to me and just drink and be full. A well, so you will. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to just pour. I want to be able to just fill you up. I want to pour into you to where you can grow. I want to be able to be, I want to be something that, you, when you drink from me, when you take from me, when you get something from me, that you feel refreshed, you feel energized, you feel new. Or when you're doing certain things with me and we're working together, we're doing this life together, or we're fasting together, or we chilling together, we vibing together, or whatever it is, that it flows. And so we just coasting. You know what I mean? That's the type of healing. That's the type of destination That's the type of journey that I want to be on to get to the destination that I want to be at. And me being silent is a form of fear. Me being silent is prolonging the journey for other people and not knowing it. Me being silent is not breaking generational curses for my son. Me being silent is not opening doors for other people to be able to create a safe space or whatever for me or for others. Me being silent is not doing justice. It's not doing any justice. Like, I'm not doing, like, if I'm being silent, I'm not doing the work that that I was called or that I was told to do. Like, I'm not being obedient. I'm not being a true vessel. And yeah, me dancing, me writing, maybe one way to where people can connect with me, but they can't connect with me until I actually perform. They can't connect with me until they actually read. They can't connect with me unless I perform my poetry, or until I perform a dance, or until I act. And then even when I act, it's not that I'm not portraying myself. I am being another character portraying another message. But this message is so much more realer, is deeper. I mean, sometimes it can just cut straight to the chase. Sometimes that shit can have you in a chokehold. I'm talking about WWE style. Like, have you in a chokehold, in a whole, like, they just did a whole flip, smack down on you, okay? Have you toe up from the flow up, okay? Have you in shambles? Child, have you weak to your knees, okay? All of that. That's what healing would do. That's what keeping silent. That's what being silent would do when you're not doing the work. And I feel like that's honest. I feel like that's real life. And it brings courage. It brings bravery to get to this place. It brings courage. It brings honesty. You have to be honest. And it's not easy. Trust me. Like, doing this is really not easy. I know that there are people out in this world that are making tons of money uploading videos, and they're doing amazing with their lives. But for me, this is still considered hard. This is still considered very giving public speaking, and although I do well with that, I don't think this is that, but I was told to do it, so I'm being obedient. Like, it's giving that. It's giving, I guess I have to be courageous in a different way. I'm guessing this is what it's supposed to be. And I hope that, like, I really do not want our healing process to affect other people. I don't even want it to affect ourselves. Like, I want this journey for all of us to be able to, like, be a phoenix. You know what I mean? To where we taking off beautifully from the fire, out of the fire. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. This is getting good. So that is how not being healed affects our relationships, right? So now in these relationships, it can show you areas into which you thought you were and you not. And it kind of, I guess you could say it's kind of the same, because it's still bringing up certain things that you need to work on. Like, for instance, communication. And since we want to just be real about it, my partner has this thing about accountability. But I'm gonna be honest, I just feel as though you asking me to be accountable, but have you? Like, that'd be my first question. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, you asking, you have this whole list, and this is for anybody, this is not just my experience, right? So look, it is not effective. And if you are a coach, a relationship coach, or a counselor, anything of that nature, let me know. So is it effective if, like, I think about, okay, pause. You see how I just went and I started asking questions? I'm still growing. I'm still evolving. I'm not perfect. No way, shape, or form, child, okay? And I'm still getting there. And when I say getting there are still certain things that I'm still working on, and I am not ashamed of that. Am I healed from certain things? Of course. Are there certain things that I still need to heal from? Yes. And I'm still getting there. Like, I'm still getting to the place. I'm still on the journey to my destination. Back to my question. So, like, is it effective if somebody asks, so again, I'm about to pause because I'm gonna just put a video up. Pastor, well, he doesn't like him when we call him pastor, but Mr. Tim Ross, okay, is MFing on point. I'm gonna just keep it as clean as that, okay? He said, okay, so because if you a presbyter or a dweller, like, and you be up in the basement, okay. First of all, this is B, an ASL, and then I'm not throwing up the other stuff because I am not therefore a blood. But nonetheless, Mr. Tim Ross said, it's one thing, like, when you start asking, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you whatever? Hi, did you put this on your schedule? Da 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 da. That is policing. When you are in an argument and you tell just da da da, you are policing. You are not. First of all, you don't hear nothing else that your partner is saying. You're in an argument and you telling somebody to be accountable, but you're not listening to what they said that actually is being accountable for their particular action. If it was their action, they cannot. A person cannot take accountability for somebody else's actions. A person cannot take accountability of somebody else's actions, only theirs. It is policing when you're constantly asking if a person has done something to make you feel a certain way, whether that's making you feel good, that's making you feel it's buttering you up. Like, you asking the question and them answering yes, da 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 da, is buttering you up, but you're policing them. We are grown. Can you please let the person be like, hey, I'm experiencing this and I'm about to. Can you please let them say, hey, we're having this conversation and it's bothering me. Before I get to this place, let me just take a breather. Let me analyze this. Let me check up on that. Let me think about that. Give them room. We have to be willing to give our partner space and availability to come to us. Whether we're in an argument, we both need to be willing to be like, let's calm down and let's let's meet this in 30 minutes or an hour. Let's chill out. Let's eat dinner and let's talk about this later. Let's come back to this. I was about to go on this child. It's funny because there's some men out here on these podcasts talking about how accountability have women in a chokehold, child. But on the real end, when they saying it, I feel like it got them in a chokehold because they ain't talking about the shit. They not talking about the stuff that they have done and what they gone through though. But they talking about about what it is that they want out of a relationship, or what they see, or what they would do to flourish in one. Okay, because relationships show you areas you thought you were healed in. So y'all gonna analyze this second part or whatever real quick and be like, she still ain't healed from that. I am, but what I'm trying to tell you is we gonna keep it a buck all the way, and we gonna keep on talking about it. Okay? Until the other person is. Because I may be healed from it, but I'm sick and tired of all these different people not keeping, like, they are not keeping it real. Are they being vulnerable, or are they just sharing what it is that they believe that they want today because of their experience of what they, had before and what they don't want? You sitting here calling these women toxic, narcissist, da-da-da-da-da. You are too. When you continue to talk about other people, you do not see how you are impacting and being a reflection of the other person. It's like you don't see yourself. It's like you don't know who you are. All you know is the other person and what it is that they're doing and how they are moving, and maybe how they're treating you or how they treating themselves. Have you took into consideration that maybe how they treating themselves and treating you is how you treated yourself and how you treated them? No? Okay. Have you thought about how the way you just got like turned up when all they did was ask you a question riled you up? Have you thought about that? And because they just said, I just asked a question, bothered you even more because you are on 1,000? No? Okay. Have you thought about just maybe, just maybe, just maybe, have you thought that maybe it's you and not them? And when you said that to them, baby, it's not you, it's me. When you said that, you didn't do it in a way to where you was not, you didn't, when you said that to them, you was trying to take away the power for them to even make a decision to break up with you. And that probably wasn't even it. Their first inclination was probably to work things out and to talk to you. But because you want to keep your trauma hoarded, and you scared and afraid of being judged, and because you don't want to have those hard discussions and conversations, you're going to try to end it before they can. So you pull yourself away. How'd that work? You see how relationship shows you areas that you're not healed in yet? You see that? So can we take what we learned, let's say, some almost like 40 minutes ago or whatever? Like, can we use that for right here? See how we gonna do better? See how we gonna speak up, Yeah? No? We're not gonna do that? Okay. So highlighted areas that still need to be worked on is because highlighted areas that still need to be worked on is what? Y'all tell me. This is not a sponsor. I'm just thirsty. So with these relationships that we're in right now, we're gonna go back home, or we're gonna go to work, wherever. We're gonna go to the park, walk around. We're gonna go to the gym, work out, and we're gonna take a moment to think about all of these different questions, all of these different areas that we have talked about considering relationships and seeing the type of work that we can do to be better, right? And then, whether it's the same day, the same night, or whatever, we're going to go to our partners and talk about how we no longer want to affect one another based off of our past. And we're going to put some things on the table. It doesn't have to be everything, but taking it one day at a time so that we can have the opportunity to grow, so that we can have the opportunity to heal, so that we can have the opportunity to maneuver some things around or whatever, so that we can be truly honest, open, and be 100% vulnerable about creating a safe space into one another, so that we can be bold together, so that we can go to this destination together, so that we can also hold each other accountable to where, like, hey, this has happened. I saw this. What can we do or whatever to be different? Hey, I heard you say this about yourself, or I heard you say this or whatever about this situation or this, this moment. Let's see how we can look at it differently. Let's have a different perspective. Let's move some things around. Let's make our hearts and our journey, whatever, a priority. Let's be gentle with one another moving forward. All of this requires communication. All of this requires you to speak up. All of this requires you to be bold and to put trauma on the forefront, what it is, and calling it what it is. It's nothing else but trauma. We don't want to project onto our kids. We don't want to project onto our lovers. We don't want to project onto our partners, like anybody. We don't want to do that. We need to start carrying the baggage of our own and assisting the baggage of who's along this journey with us, because we can't carry that baggage for them. We can only carry our own and assist in how we navigate through it. That was a lot to unpack, but I think that was on point. I'm pretty sure we can, get deeper, but I think we okay. I think we good. Like we get it. Because I really have hope and do believe that we don't intentionally be out here like trying to let our past like affect our future or our present relationships. It's just so that it happens that way because we have unresolved like issues that ends up resurfacing into our arguments, resurfacing into our pain. And then it just, again, it blows up because we're being silent about it, and we're being silent because we're scared. Let's break from this fear and all of these different traditions or these different perspectives that we just gonna cut people off, or and granted, cutting people off or making the decision to leave or whatever is a good thing. And then on the other end, it becomes that becomes toxic too. That becomes unhealthy, because then that can show other people or even myself, like, you don't know how to communicate and you have a hard time having long lasting relationships with people because you don't want to deal. You just constantly want to burn bridges and not cross them. And some people look at situations like that. I pay attention to stuff like that. And to be honest, sometimes and to be real, like, there have probably been times when I've handed the scissors just to see if a person was going to cut me off or whatever, and seeing how they was going to handle the situation. There have been other times where it was probably just left on the table and nobody contacted. Just keep it at 100. Like, and it be like that. And sometimes we don't, and it's not until moments like this or whatever, to where we listen to a podcast or we watch a video or something like that, and it gets brought up. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I need to reflect on that. Or dang, like, I haven't spoken to that girl or that dude in like years. And then you check up on them or whatever. And then granted, maybe the relationship is done, because all relationships are not supposed to be a lifetime and not supposed to be forever. And that's real life too. Everybody goes through these different seasons with different people. Everybody is not meant to be in your life for a lifetime, but they are there during that season to possibly teach you a lesson, or for you to teach them a lesson. For you to be aware of certain people like this. For you to be aware of how people treat you, or how you let people treat you. Because we be doing that too and don't realize it. We be letting people walk all over us, child. Child. One of these episodes, I'm gonna bring out my sound bowls so that I can cleanse this energy, cleanse this. Okay. This was still good energy though. This was still good energy. This was still kind of one of those, like, okay, I see where you're going with this, and it's given, I get you, but do I really want to do the work? It's given, child. Do I really got to be vulnerable? Yes. Do I really got to speak up? Yes. Do I really got to communicate? Yes. Did I just say that? I don't know, but yes, you still, yes. You got to do the work. Child, we got to do the work. Okay? Okay. We're going to do the work. So let's move forward with not letting our past traumas affect our relationships, and making sure that we own up to them and speak up on them, so that we can know how to love on ourselves, including loving one another. Peace and love. Mwah.